there's quite a bit that needs to be stated throughout the course of this production. So we might be here for a little while. Therefore, I would advise every one of you to listen to me very carefully. Before I get started, let me run down my usual formation. For those of you who are watching this production, then I want you to start off by getting my likes up. Give me the big thumbs up. Furthermore, share this production. As I've told you, YouTube has placed this channel under a shadow ban since late 2020, which has hindered my growth as far as subscriptions and views are concerned. And as I've continued to state, I have not moved past 20,800 subscribers in more than 4 years, or going on 5 years now, should I say. And for those who would like to show support for the productions made on this channel, then you can feel free to do so via the links in the description box. Now, with that being stated, I took this screenshot here. And of course, you see that these are news anchors from MSNBC. I don't know what their names are. The only one I know is, what's her name? Simone Sanders. And I wanted to highlight the problems that you see amongst the Democratic Party. And I've referenced this before, is that you have incompetent people who are your advisors that don't know what they're talking about, who know nothing about how to execute long-term strategies. And this is exactly why Kamala Harris got spanked in that landslide. Because you have a bunch of people, like I told you, who are incompetent, don't think long-term, lack critical thinking skills on a basic level, and have absolutely no foresight. The Democratic Party should have known that they were in trouble when they were not preparing somebody since early 2022 to replace Joe Biden with. Out of all of Joe Biden's horrific policies, and this is what really has stained the Democrats' name, they were already taking losses, just small amounts of people appealing away from the Democrats after Barack Hussein Obama. But Joe Biden just managed to get people to just flee in a landslide, whether they decided to go ahead and vote, third party, Donald Trump, or merely sit it out. Joe Biden ensured this. And see, the problem is, to the people who run the Democratic Party, when you sat back and you seen Joe Biden implementing all of these horrific policies within the first 9 months of his administration. See, I could have told you within his first 3 months that he was not going to win re-election. I knew this because he had gone too far. What he had done was so egregious, and I'm talking about within the first 3 months. You take it a little bit furthermore, 6 months, it gets even that much worse. 9 months, you have a complete, total catastrophe. And if y'all were smart, y'all would have aimed to have cleaned this up within either the first year or within the first 2 years of his administration and say, okay, we got to undo some of this craziness that we've been putting forth if we expect to win re-election. They never did. And y'all sat back and watched Joe Biden literally turn the country upside down. And y'all sit back and talk about being the party of freedom, but Joe Biden and the Democrats were the one who are forcing these vaccine mandates on the people. At what point about that constitutes freedom? These are horrific policies, especially when you know what I know when it comes out to these vaccines. You know why you should never be mandating people to take them. And then to think that you can silence people's freedom of speech to be able to speak about this on social media. This right there shows you who the real dictators are, who the real authoritarians are. And at no point in time did any of y'all watching this geriatric piece of shit, did y'all have the decency to stop his ass when y'all could have. Y'all sat back and watched Joe Biden run amok with unpopular policies that were only going to ensure his inevitable defeat. See, I'm sitting back watching MSNBC. And apparently, Simone Sanders had some issue with Nancy Pelosi and how she ran the campaign or whatever, whether she actually did so or not. And mentioning how many people need to go take seats in the back because they pretty much ruined the chances of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris winning. They had no chance in winning. And if you simply look at the trajectory, before this presidential election had taken place, just when it comes down to Joe Biden, 1 out of 3 times Joe Biden ran, only 1 time he was successful. If you now look at after this election or just when the whole thing, before they pulled him out, 1 out of 4 times he ran and was successful. He did not win re-election. He got bumped. They said, get out. You can't stay here. You're going to cost us the House and the Senate and the presidency. This is a matter of having foresight. If he couldn't get over the hill before, over the finish line before, what makes you think he can do it now? Kamala Harris ran just as tragic of a campaign now as she did back in 2019. The only difference was she was the first one to drop out. The foresight is to be able to see that nobody wanted Kamala Harris, therefore put her on a shelf. As a matter of fact, just discard her, toss the baby out with the bathwater because she's useless. She can't get to the finish line. Democrats were supposed to be able to see this, but once again, when you lack foresight, you'll sit up here and try to take something that has absolutely no use that you see sitting in the trash and go ahead and take something right out of the trash and try to figure out what can you use this thing for. And then the hard reality comes in that this thing has absolutely no use. You should have left it where you found it. That's what you're dealing with when it comes down to Kamala Harris. Most certainly Kamala Harris. But as I'm sitting back and I'm listening to what they're saying things that have little to nothing to do with what people are actually looking for. They can't figure out why they lost elections. And they're saying, well, Nancy Pelosi, them trying to have an open convention was why would you do that? That was going to guarantee Kamala Harris a loss. Let me just give you Democrats a bit of advice. And this is just basic mathematics. Like I told y'all back over the summer, 2 + 2 = 4. Don't have them fool you with anything else. This is pretty simple. Kamala Harris never had a chance in winning, ever. As a matter of fact, swapping Joe Biden out for Kamala Harris was the very same thing that gave y'all this landslide loss. And on top of this furthermore helped to damage your credibility. If y'all had foresight to begin with, you would have never ran Joe Biden. And you most certainly wouldn't have let him run for re-election. You would have told him, all right, you only got 1 term and you getting the hell out. We're not asking you this. We're telling you. You got 1 term. The next thing they would have did, they would have stopped him in his bullshit, in his tracks when he's implementing vaccine mandates, telling car manufacturing companies you can't make gasoline and diesel-powered vehicles past 2030. Allowing millions to flood the border. If y'all actually took the time to stop him, then you can actually differentiate yourself from Joe Biden and say, hey, listen, these weren't Democratic policies. This was Joe Biden's policies. But y'all can't do that now. Because Kamala Harris, as stupid as she is, will say, well, I was a tie-breaking vote in favor of Joe Biden. With all of these horrific policies, what could you have expected to happen? Kamala Harris didn't stand a chance then, and she most certainly didn't stand a chance now at winning this election. But be it that it may, let's say with everything that's taken place with Joe Biden getting in what she should have never got in, and him running for re-election, which they should have pulled his ass a long time ago within the first 2 years. They should have been, all right, we're getting somebody else prepared to come take your place in 2024. But they didn't. So despite the fact that they should have done this, let's just run what took place now. If Democrats were smart, the only thing that they could have really done at this point in time is accept the loss. Let Joe Biden run to the finish line. Oh, he's not going to get to the finish line, but let him run the gauntlet and let him lose. Because at least had you done that, you wouldn't have damaged the credibility and the integrity of the Democratic Party in the way that you've done it. Accept the fact that you are going to be defeated, and this is because of you standing in your own way and lacking foresight that this wasn't the guy that you should have ever ran. Had they done this, okay. At the end of the damn day, like I said, you can blame all of these fucked up policies on Joe Biden. And say, hey, he was the one doing all of this. We oppose it, but then again, y'all really can't even say that. But see, when y'all stuck Kamala Harris in there, and you didn't have an open convention, you showcased you're not even acquiescing to what people want. If you had an open convention, even if you lost, you would have still showcased, okay, this is a democratic process. Y'all didn't do that. Y'all just stuck Kamala Harris in there and said, all right, this is who we're going to give you, and go out there and vote for her. Now go to the finish line and sprint. And it didn't happen. Y'all damaged your credibility by doing this. You screwed yourselves over by doing this. I don't know what it is that they were thinking when they pulled this garbage. But anybody who has foresight would have known this isn't going to work. And then what was she campaigning on? Nothing. Abortions. Things that don't impact people's day-to-day pockets, their day-to-day lives. And then when you look at the Democratic Party and you just realize how they lack foresight, how they will implement terrible policies and then try to project you liking these policies, but just because they said you're supposed to like them. And then finding out the hard way that nobody is in favor of these policies. You then sit back and look at the videos of black women crashing out and burning. All upset because Donald Trump won. And then you think of the talking points that Tiffany Cross stated about black men. Why don't y'all get in line behind black women? Right? And then you hear all of this misogynistic bullshit that they're saying about black men, mainly, predominantly black men. That you're just sexist because you don't want to see the first black woman president, which Kamala Harris is not black. But they keep trying to portray her off as a black woman. And they say, well, we don't want to see a woman as president because we're sexist. We don't want a woman leading us. Let me just say this much when it comes down to a woman's leadership. If you're going to audition for a leadership role, you have to showcase what makes you worthy of a leader. All right? And black women, since y'all want to say that black men don't want to get behind you, let me just go ahead and say this. I'm not getting behind you. As a man, I don't look to no woman to lead me. It's just that damn simple. And if you're going to talk about putting yourself in a leadership position, you have to demonstrate competence, that you know what you're doing, that you have foresight, that you have critical thinking, that you're strategic. And what this has become a referendum on is when you look at still overwhelmingly black women, and it's not as many as it was before because you have more who pulled away from the Democratic Party. So some of y'all actually woke up. But for the ones who didn't and still overwhelmingly went out and supported Kamala Harris, listen, like I just told y'all a little while ago, the foresight. I knew within Joe Biden's first 3 months that he was not winning re-election. There was no way possible he was going to win re-election. I told y'all months ago that Kamala Harris stood logically that there was no chance she could beat Donald Trump. Absolutely none. And that the only way they get her over the finish line is if somehow they can convince the majority of the American people that she's so popular and has all this overwhelming support, which she never did. And it failed miserably. This is foresight. This is knowing that, am I backing a winning strategy? So if black women collectively, and I'm talking about for those of you who want us to get in line, like Tiffany Cross says, and follow your leadership, and you got behind an empty suit who could not get you over the finish line, and furthermore showcasing that you lacked the foresight that this was a guaranteed failure. You had pattern after pattern that demonstrates she had no chance in winning. As I told y'all before, 2 + 2 = 4. Hillary Clinton ran against Donald Trump. All right? She lost. Y'all thought you had an alignment with the white feminists. And white women by large and in droves went out and not voted for Hillary Clinton, but voted for Donald Trump. Then y'all think, what, 8 years later, you're going to come back out and do the same repetitive shit again, not learning from the first time that, okay, that didn't work. So somehow y'all are upset with white women when white women have already showed you that they're not. First of all, out of the two candidates, when it comes down to Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton would have been the one to win the election, to win the presidency. Her chances were far better. Here you have this empty suit, someone who's camouflaging, being a goddamn chameleon, inauthentic, no authenticity, just a complete buffoon. And somehow y'all thought you were going to just make it, and white women and every other race of women were going to get behind that and back that garbage. That just goes to show you, you lack foresight. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the very same thing over and over and over and over again and again and expecting a favorable outcome while getting the opposite. This is what black women have done. So we see what your leadership looks like. You don't even have the capacity to understand when you are dealing with a winning strategy versus when something is guaranteed to fail. Anybody could have told you this. Listen, I'm not a student of politics. This is just simple repetition, pattern recognition, just simple mathematics have told me no. There is absolutely no way Kamala Harris wins this election. No way in hell. And if you listen, they told you this. They kept saying, no, this is a neck and neck race. If it was neck and neck, why was Kamala Harris always coming out saying, listen, let's make it perfectly clear that we are the underdog? Who is she talking about? Because she's not talking about Trump and Vance. She's talking about Harris and Tim Walz. They are the underdog. So she knew she did not have the numbers. And the fact that people can dupe you, game you, fool you with a bunch of nonsense is overwhelming and outstanding to me. So when y'all want to run around saying that black men are sexist, that we don't want a woman to lead us, at the end of the goddamn day, you have to be competent. And what we've seen is far too long, black women will back strategies that will guarantee fail. They have done this time and time again. And once you have seen this, it's like you get me one time, you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. You fool me a third, well, there won't be a third time. Hell, there won't even be a second time if you're smart. So y'all then expect black men to function like y'all and operate lacking common sense, critical thinking, lacking foresight, and proper judgment to know when you are dealing with a winning team compared to a losing team. Democrats are completely disconnected from reality. They thought getting a bunch of celebrities were going to somehow get them over the hump. They prioritize and put their energy and finances and resources into what could not get them over the hump. A common denominator about all of these Kamala Harris rallies, when you look at the core base that's there, the people that are, oh yeah, we're going to support Kamala Harris. The men there are suspect. The women, staunch feminists. People who don't get along with other people, who don't mix well. Even in their own circles, they'll devour each other. So what I'm trying to figure out is how the hell do you think? All right, let me just say this much. You got two teams competing against each other, right? One team, the players of that team are in the gym on a regular basis. They're training consistently. They're constantly at practice. They watch their diets, what they eat. They make sure they get proper rest. Things that they do, they make it their religion to do things to winning in that competition, to overcoming their opponents. Then you have the opposite team that is out drinking, partying, not prioritizing being in the gym training, not coming to practice, doing drugs and doing all kinds of degenerate shit. Then these two come together and they have a face-off. what team would you put your money on? So let's say Team A is a team that's actually on point and they're focusing on their craft, which is winning. And Team B is the one that's just out here doing everything they can to disadvantage themselves. What team would you put your money on then? Are you going to put your money on Team A or Team B? Now, let's just say if you are a staunch Team B supporter because maybe at one point they stood for something, but you realize, holy shit, y'all changed up completely. But now nothing that Team A ever does will you support them. Then it would make common sense to say, I'm just going to sit this one out and relax. Because I'm not going to support Team A, but at the same time, I'm not going to support a losing team either. I'm not going to put my resources into that. What you had were a bunch of sassy ass effeminate men and feminist females who went out here, a bunch of AKAs and sorority people. These bussified Negroes going out here and getting all kinds of money to put into Kamala Harris's campaign, which was a complete waste of your fucking money. X amount of millions of goddamn dollars. You could have started multiple businesses with that. That could have actually done something productive for your community. And these are supposed to be the motherfuckers leading us? Are you serious? You raise X amount of millions of damn dollars and you mean to tell me you don't put forth not one business in your community to employ the people of your community, to give them jobs, to put resources into that community, but you can raise that kind of money for a candidate that is nothing more than an empty fucking suit. Make sense out of this. And then y'all have the audacity to sit up here and say, well, y'all couldn't just get our backs this one time. If you don't get the fuck out my face with that bullshit. See, that is a losing strategy. I like winning. Alpha males like winning. We're not going to apologize to you because your candidate didn't win, because we didn't go up and show up for her. She was offering absolutely nothing. She was horrible. And if you had a bit of common sense, you would have realized this. But then when you wonder when it comes down to black women, how they keep getting ran through by the same type of dudes over and over and over again. Like I told you before, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the very same thing over and over again and expecting a different result while getting expecting a favorable outcome while getting a non-favorable outcome. Why would I follow that? Why should black men follow that? I mean, okay. Let's just go back to the analogy I made with the teams for a second, okay? You look at Donald Trump's team. When you look at the people on the Republican Party who are on mainstream media news and they're speaking, in many cases they're well-spoken. They speak within facts, not all the time, but they're way more factual than the Democratic Party. These are not people who get emotional on camera, which you're never supposed to see a journalist doing because somebody won't vote for the candidate that you want. That's ridiculous. That's unheard of. They can articulate their words, their thoughts into statement. They can make sense out of what they're saying. Whether you like the Republican Party or not, this is what you get out of the Republican Party. And then on the other hand, you have Joe Biden and the Democrats. Who's in Joe Biden's cabinet? A transgender for the Secretary of Health this is what we're dealing with. He had this bald-headed dude with red lipstick on stealing women's designer clothes with their luggage carriages at airports. This is who Joe Biden put in his cabinet. He put forth a diverse can of mixed nuts that can't get him over the finish line of people who are unknowledgeable. And he's putting them in these positions that they have absolutely no business being in. They're unqualified. And then you wonder why his team has taken a loss? Why he couldn't get over the finish line when he went up against Trump for the first debate of this year, the first presidential debate? Why he got his ass handed to him? Because this is his priorities. Not having competent people, knowledgeable people, well-rounded people who can give him real insight, but having a mixed can of mixed nuts. That's what Joe Biden prioritized, and that's exactly why his ass is getting shown the fucking door. On the other hand, you got Donald Trump, which he says crazy things at times, but listen, he can articulate what his policies are. That's what people want to hear. He can articulate how this will benefit you. That's what people want to hear. A man who was smart enough to realize, okay, within my first cabinet that I had back in 2017, I didn't know anything. So I made some mistakes. So I brought in some people that I probably should not have had. So he's smart enough to acknowledge his mistakes and course correct. Say what you want to say about J.D. Vance. The man is well spoken. You've seen what he did with Tim Walz in that debate. He scraped him, embarrassed him. You look at the people who speak of the Republican Party. There's one brother, what's his name? I think his name is Byron Donalds. Black man. And you see when he's sitting up here on these lamestream liberal media news outlets talking to these milquetoast dudes who are catty, effeminate, sassy, whining like some overgrown children in a goddamn kindergarten. It is embarrassing to the point where he is literally shutting them down. And this is the thing I like about both Byron Donalds and J.D. Vance. When these retarded idiots show off with nonsense, trying to drag you off into something that makes no sense, they quickly shut it down. So you have a team of competent people. If you ask anybody who's on the Republican side, why are you voting for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they can articulate a logical reason to as of why they're voting, at least for the most part. They can give you substantive reasons. They can tell you about policies. They can tell you about what their experiences were under Donald Trump compared to what it is under Joe Biden and how they were actually doing better under Trump. People can agree or disagree with that as far as I'm concerned. But listen, that's what they articulate. I haven't come across one person who can articulate a logical reason to as of why anybody should vote for Kamala Harris. I've had people tell me, all right, so then I ask, okay, tell me what policy. They immediately fly into Donald Trump. No. I didn't ask you about Donald Trump. I asked you about Kamala Harris. Tell me what policy, the specific policy that you like about her and the reason why I should vote for her. Well, when it comes down to our policy, there's none. Really? This is your response? And this is Kamala Harris's base. You look at the Republican base. Men and women who are organized, energized. The group, the cabinet that Trump put together, RFK Jr., Gabby Tosa, J.D. Vance, a host of other people who are competent and have the know-how, who have foresight. You don't have to agree with everything that they say. You don't even have to like them. But you can't admit that these are incompetent people. You can't say that. On the other hand, when you look at Kamala Harris's rallies, what do you see in her rallies? Bussified, sassy, effeminate men, LGBT, transgenders, and radical feminists. This is what you have under that party. This is your army right over here. On the other hand, you got people who are in tune with reality, know what it is that makes society thrive and function, and then on the other hand, you got people functioning off of vibes and feelings. The common denominator out of everybody that I mentioned that is in Kamala Harris's group, if there's one way you could sum it up, dysfunctional. That's what you're dealing with. So when you wonder why this cabinet could not get themselves over the finish line, it's because you don't have competent people with the know-how and know what they're doing. You have a bunch of sassy, effeminate, mentally and emotionally unhinged people who can't get past their own fucking emotions. This is why you see all of these men crashing out and burning. Damn celebrities crashing out and burning, trying to shame people into voting for Kamala Harris instead of giving you real substantive reasons to as of how she can benefit your life. And when you put that onto the damn battlefield, you have one team that understands war tactics and what they need to do to prepare for war. And then you have the other team that operates off of emotional dysfunction. And when you put those two and have them clash together, what do you expect to happen? You have the landslide sweep that Donald Trump had during the 2024 election. You have Kamala Harris getting her ass spanked in a landslide, getting her ass taken to the fucking woodshed. That's what you had happen. You see, once you know about strategy, you have to have a competent group of people that back you. You have to have a strong foundation. If you're building a foundation or you want to set up a building and have it lay on a proper solid foundation, you have to know what type of cement you need, what reinforcement you need to put in that cement, whether you need rebar, if you need to add in some other minerals with it that are going to make it stronger, what's the thickness you need to have, the coating you need to put on top of it to keep corrosion from rotting it out from the inside. This is stuff you need to know. Because if you go ahead and you just throw any shit on the damn ground and put any garbage in it, guess what? Your foundation crumbles. Even if you can build up a structure, it ain't going to last. But if you know what you're doing and you can build a strong foundation, that structure lasts for centuries. Well, when you were looking at Kamala Harris's foundation, beta bussy males, milquetoast dudes, emotionally unstable, unhinged individuals, members from the Alphabet City and Transformer community, and radical feminists. Yeah, your foundation ain't strong for nothing. And when you go up in war with this being your army, it is a wrap for you. Finished, done. Y'all have no long-term strategy. Y'all don't know what you're doing. You are disconnected from reality. Y'all living in your nice, comfy, gated communities in, what is it? I can't even think of the goddamn shit. Martha's Vineyard. Y'all are in these areas and you don't know what it is that people actually want. Many of these people have no real life experience. They know nothing of what it is to do a day's work of hard work, turning a wrench, drilling, using power tools, working in a power plant, nothing. In most cases, these are career politicians, and you have to wonder how they got their way to where they're at now. Kamala Harris. And then you have black women who are sitting around chastising black men. Why didn't you get behind us? Why should we? We've seen the leadership of black women for how many years and where the black community is at. No, I'll take a pass on that. I don't give a damn whether you like it or not. I like winning. It's just that simple. And if you don't know what a winning strategy and a winning team looks like, and you are going to intentionally and consistently back a team of failure. And we see this when it comes down to the black church. They continuously back the black church and the church offers them nothing. You lack foresight. You get involved with men that offer you nothing. They lack foresight. And they keep doing it over and over again. That's the crazy thing. And then you back political parties that do absolutely nothing for you. And then on top of that, anybody with half a brain in their head will know that this is a goofy ticket. There is no way in hell this gets over the finish line. But yet and still, y'all still back them. And then the craziest part is not only do you back them, but then you expect black men to get behind you, white women to get behind you, when white women have already shown you they ain't going to vote for this. So you have a clear pattern on what's going to happen and what's not going to happen, and somehow black women fail to see it. And now y'all are sitting here becoming unhinged, wanting to go in on people because you made a stupid decision. I mean, this is becoming repetition at this point. What else do we say? And we as black men are supposed to sit here and get behind that and back that nonsense. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. The only men that are going to back this are soft, bussified, milquetoast dudes. And see, they want these dudes to back them. Or they want masculine black men to be like this up until they need you to be a real man and step up and take care of them. See, the common thing that I'm seeing amongst black women, and y'all proving this, along with the Democratic Party, the best way, or there's two words that I can use that will best describe the Democratic Party. Number one, cannibalistic, and number two, outright insane. That's what you're dealing with the Democratic Party. And they have, the similars are so identical. The similarities, are so identical. This is almost one and the same when you look at black women who have voted for this. The Democratic Party, what do I mean when I say that they are cannibalistic? They cannibalize themselves. They cannibalize their base. They did everything to cause divide the divide and conquer amongst the black community. The black voting bloc has always been their consistent base, a reliable voting bloc. And they've played this gender role, trying to divide black women against black men, which is stupid because now you actually deplete your numbers. Black women, for years, have gotten online and trashed black men, which is crazy because those are two common denominators. And here's another one. After the Democrats have disrespected black men and the black community, but mainly black men, then they somehow feel entitled to, hey, you're supposed to help me get over the finish line, black man. Why aren't you going out here and voting for me? Doesn't that sound familiar? Because what do black women do when things backfire on them after they trash black men the way they have? And now they find themselves, their butts in the crack, and all of a sudden, well, wait a second, black man, you're supposed to come out here and get my back. Protect me, keep me safe, despite the fact that you've thrown black men under the bus for decades. Despite the fact that you've elevated every other race of men over black men. These are the ones who've gone out and voted for Kamala Harris, by the way. But yet and still, they expect you to go out there and get in line and get their back. This is outright insanity. So you cannibalize the group that you need by trashing them every chance you get and disrespecting, which is what black women do and the Democratic Party does. Then you expect, after doing this, that this very same group of individuals, of men that you have trashed and thrown under the bus, and now come out the woodwork to come rescue you. Which that is the outright definition of insanity. Only a person who is disconnected from reality would function like this. Because as I stated some time ago, if I were Joe Biden, if I were running the Democratic Party, I would know that everything that has taken place within the first year of Joe Biden's administration, that there is going to be no re-election. It is over. We are going to lose so many seats and positions of power. It is over. So knowing that what Joe Biden is doing is going to lead to this, if I'm running that party, if I don't care, I'm going to say, okay, do as much damage as you can. Let's get everything we can get. And when we get to 2024, let's haul ass because we're not winning. If it's just a matter of a grab and go, of a cash grab, that's how I would do it. Or if I'm looking at it for long-term sustainability, I would say, hey, listen, Joe, you better stop the shit you are doing right now. Because you are going to cost us election after election after election. You better cut this fucking shit out. Or we will invoke the 25th Amendment on your ass, and you will be a sitting duck in that damn White House. As if he already wasn't, but hey, just for the sake of making an argument. But that's a matter of having foresight, understanding that, listen, these people aren't going to go out here and vote for us for nothing. We can't keep taking out of the bank account and not putting back anything into it and somehow expecting to be an abundance of money waiting for us when we come back again. If you put nothing back into it, guess what? At some point, the resources are going to deplete, which is what Democrats have done. Maybe a more simpler example of what I can give you. You know, if you have a drinking well with water in it, you need to protect that well. You need to keep it safe. You need to make sure things don't get in there. You need to make sure that water does not become contaminated. This is just basic common sense. Because if you start contaminating the water, then the water becomes undrinkable. Then you don't have a water source. Democrats will literally contaminate their own well that they themselves need to drink out of. And then be surprised when the water is no longer drinkable. I mean, this is the level of insanity that we're dealing with out of this Democratic Party. I have never seen such stupidity in all my years of living. That a political class of people can be this far gone. That they can't see basic writing that's on the wall in plain English, in clear sight. What you Democrats have done with all of these unpopular policies and not having enough foresight to you to say, okay, we need to turn this crap around. You see, 100 years ago, 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 100 years a If Joe Biden had done this within its first couple of months and then said, oh shit, let me undo this, even if it was being completely dishonest just to save his ass for the next re-election, he would have been able to play that down. Okay, when I got in, I tried to undo Trump's border policies. I didn't know that all this catastrophe was going to happen. So once I seen that, I thought we can I thought we could calm it down. But once I realized that it didn't go as planned, I went ahead and closed the border. He might actually have had a fighting chance. Had he realized when cutting gas or oil production in this country was going to lead to a surge in the prices of gas, natural gas, heating oil would skyrocket, and said, oh crap, oh, I tried something there. Now I'm realizing it did not work. So therefore I'm going to undo what I initially did. Let's get that Keystone Pipeline reopened again. See, he might have actually had a fighting chance. Joe Biden was too stupid to realize that this was going to be the very same thing that was going to wash his ass up. And see, the funny thing is, you got a whole bunch of idiots who were sitting there looking at Kamala Harris's debate against Donald Trump. And y'all thought she looked so presidential. Oh man, it is clear and undecisive that she is the winner. That's what y'all believe. Because y'all thought this was actually about a dick and tit swinging contest, a mic drop moment, a soundbite moment. And no, that's not what presidential debates are about. Trump doesn't have to go in there and get a soundbite. All he has to do is articulate his plan. Just keep hammering that out. Listen, you don't have to be popular and liked in order for somebody to say, okay, you're fit for the job. You can take the most stale, bland, boring individual and put him on that damn debate stage with no charisma, no personality, just dry as stale paint. But if they can articulate what their plan is and that plan aligns with your pockets on how it is going to benefit your pockets, guess what the people are going to vote for? Now you have on the other hand the candidate who's funny, has personality, charisma, but they don't know what they're talking about. They can't articulate what a plan is. Who do you think is going to win? Even if you win the debate, okay, that's not going to constitute a victory for an election. That's what Kamala Harris needed to sell off, was a victory for the election, and she failed miserably. How stupid do y'all look? Every last one of y'all that was out here shilling for this woman, making it say, oh man, she destroyed Trump. Y'all look like fucking idiots. Y'all need to go in shame, go into hiding, man. This is an embarrassment. But you know what? Hey, I'm all for it. Because it shows you don't even know what the objective is. People who follow Kamala Harris don't know what an objective is, what an agenda is. And that this is the focal point, not a whole bunch of foolishness. Kamala Harris is on there looking to gain brownie points on foolishness, not on anything serious that can actually get her over the hump. She wanted to prioritize nonsense. So when Trump said, okay, she wants to have a rematch, I'm done. I'm not doing it. Because clearly I'm the winner, because when you win, they immediately want a damn rematch once they lose so damn badly. Now, listen. Trump stated I'm not going to debate her. I don't got no reason to. Things are going in my favor. I'm good over here. I got nothing to prove to her. And guess what? He won in a landslide. So what he said, whether you agree with it or not, he was right. Because at the end of the day, he got the victory and in a landslide. Kamala was not even close. This is an embarrassment. The only thing that is more delightful than this landslide of a loss that she dealt with, this spanking that she got in the poll, what was it that Killer Mike's stupid ass said? Well, go beat him up in the poll, Well, that's exactly what happened. Both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got their asses kicked in the goddamn polls. Y'all need to be careful in what y'all say. Because the shit can come to reality. The shit can come to light, and I'll be damned if it didn't happen this election. But the only thing that would have been more delightful, or that would add icing on the cake, I should say, to this landslide defeat that she had, getting her ass taken to the fucking woodshed, would be to see the look of disappointment and defeat on her face when she found out the results. I really hope that somebody has some footage somewhere stashed away that they put up, showcasing the look on her goddamn face. In addition to that, I would love to see, because she didn't stick around once this happened. She just left. Nobody even knew what the hell she was. Somebody else had to come out there and announce, okay, she's not going to be speaking tonight. She's gone. I would love to see footage of her actually walking out of Howard University, getting into her limo or whatever transportation she had. I would love to see the walk of shame, the walk of humiliation, of embarrassment of her leaving. I mean, come on. You know what it's like when you've embarrassed yourself to such an extent, you're in front of a large audience, and now that you just, in certain cases, you just freeze up. You don't even want to move because you just want somebody to come and rescue you and get you out of there. All right, just throw a fucking a blanket over this motherfucker, stuff him in the car, and get him out of here. That's what you're really hoping for, because you feel so embarrassed, because now that walk of shame is even worse because you feel so stupid. That would be the only thing that would make the icing on the cake for me. Like I said, for those of you who are Kamala Harris supporters, you lack foresight. You don't know what an objective is, what an agenda is. You don't have to like Donald Trump. You don't have to be a Republican. But you should clearly be able to see that this campaign was going absolutely nowhere. And yet and still, so many of you black women went out here and you backed an empty suit. So you don't even have the foresight to know when somebody's has the potential to win. There are so many things. I'll be here all damn day rattling off why this campaign was destined to fail. But the most important thing I can tell you is when you have an incompetent core base, when you have a base that is rooted in dysfunction and chaos, as you see what the Democrats are pushing, look at who they're catering to. People that cannot get you over the finish line. Then there is no way in hell that you should expect a victory out of that. You just shouldn't. This is why Joe Biden got his ass handed to him looking as stupid as he did when he got mopped up on that debate stage back over the summer. And this is why Kamala Harris got shown the goddamn door. It's funny because her social media accounts have been very quiet ever since the election. Nothing. Silence. Oh, yes. I would love somebody to have some footage on her somewhere, going to a grocery store. Maybe she probably won't even sit down in a public restaurant because of the embarrassment. The cannibalistic part of the Democratic Party, and I didn't get a chance to address this in the last production. You had Barack Hussein Obama. As a matter of fact, let me get back to my usual backdrop. 47 minutes into the production. Yeah, let me have my usual backdrop show. But the reason why I wanted to showcase that backdrop, and I should have said this right before I changed and switched out the backdrop, was some of the people I listened to on there. I mean, you look, okay, as a matter of fact, let me do this. All right. Take a look at these individuals. I don't know much about most of these people, but these two are probably the ones who are most, that had a decent composure, I should say. You look at Simone Sanders, we all know what her reputation is. I don't know who this woman is, but this looks like a female version or a more effeminate version of Roland Bussy Martin. And then you have a sassy ass milquetoast Negro within this picture right over here. And these are the people who are supposed to be your advisors. These are the people who are supposed to be pushing info on the mainstream media news airwaves. And then you wonder why people are getting sick of this. You wonder why people have had enough of this shit. The Democratic Party has no place for masculine alpha males. And if you want to have victories after victory after victory, you're going to need alpha males on your side. Heterosexual alpha males. Now, if you want to be a party that does something for everybody, that's fine. But you are going to need these people on your side. When you start distancing yourself from the alpha males, the ones who are the builders, the ones who are going to protect, the ones who are going to lead the society where it needs to go, guess what? At some point, you are on the verge of collapse. That is only a guarantee. Now, let me go back to my backdrop here. But this is what the Democratic Party prioritizes. These are the people that they have running their mouths, just making not a damn bit of sense. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's the American people's fault. This is some of the nonsense that they're saying, and they wonder why they lose. Now, let me go ahead and address something, because I didn't get a chance to talk about this, and I was just getting ready to talk about it before I went back to the picture, to the screenshot I'd taken. And you have Barack Hussein Obama, and black men, rightfully so, gave pushback on his bullshit. I'm going to tell you Democrats something right now. Y'all better put this guy in a closet and stuff him in there and keep him there. Barack Hussein Bootlick needs to keep his goddamn mouth shut. He has no business speaking to black people again, ever. Ever. He has zero credibility. His glory days were back in 2008 and 2012. It is over for him now. And I don't know, once again, why would the Democrats think it is a smart idea to send this biscuit-made Negro, some old pencil-neck, dweeb-looking dude, out here and attempt to lecture black men? And then also, when you take a look at the black men that were there, what is the common denominator? Soft, milquetoast, effeminate black men. What was it? Didn't Kamala Harris go ahead and have an interview at some university or something like that? And you seen the people who were interviewing her, soft, effeminate, sassy black men. A bunch of milquetoast brothers. This is who their base is and what their base is about. People who are mentally unstable. A bunch of beta males and feminists and people from the Alphabet City community. These people cannot get you over the hump. Why? Because they are too mentally unstable to think past their own emotions. So when you have clear red flag signs that you are going in the wrong direction, they can't even get out of their own way to say, you know what, hey, we need to stop and go change course. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to just say, keep doing the same thing. And it's just like black women. You should expect that if you trash black men, that black men are not going to come to your aid. You should expect that. Hell, what is it? The pink pill back in 2016 when she got into that situation with the Vegator. Now, this is a woman who has spent damn near close to a decade at that time trashing black men. And when she doing that at the behest of elevating white men and non-black men. This is what she's done. Expand your options. You got more power the more options you have. This is what she was saying. Trashing black men indirectly and in many cases directly. My thing is, if you're going to go down that path, that's fine if that's how you truly feel. But then don't expect black men to come out here and collectively get your back when the very same group of men that you are elevating and putting on pedestals and kissing their asses every chance you get now give you a real wake-up call. Don't come to us for that. But what did she do? Instead of having integrity, saying, you know what, I fucked up by bringing him on the panel, I should have never done that. That would have been her showing some integrity to her audience and her base. No, what she does is she attempts to lecture black men and explain to us what real masculinity is and how the majority of us are not masculine black men. Are you serious? Somebody who's clearly too stupid to understand the concept of reality and the way things work. It's pretty simple. If you toss an object off of a roof, gravity is going to pull it down. It's going to fall to the ground. If you put a pot of water on a stove and turn on the fire or the burner, whatever you have, it's going to heat the water up, and the result is going to be it's going to come to a boil. This is equivalent to, okay, let me go ahead and I want to freeze a pot of water. Let me take it and put it on the oven and expect the water to freeze. Oh, you know what? I want to boil some water. So let me take a pot of water and put it in the freezer and expect the water to boil. This is what the level of insanity that we're dealing with when it comes down to not only just Kristen Harrison, but Democrats by large. This is how they think. It is completely ass backwards, even though there is a logical concept on how these things work. You take a pot of water and put it in an icebox, it's going to freeze. You take an object and you throw it off of a roof, it's going to fall to the ground. If you touch a hot stove, the reaction is you're going to get burned. We understand a logical concept. You stick your hand in an electrical outlet, you get electrocuted, a shock. We understand this. This is a logical concept. So why would you then expect to trash a group of men? You should know that the logical response that is going to happen at a bare minimum is they are going to distance themselves from you. You know what? I'm good. I'm not. Maybe I don't say anything to you. Maybe I don't trash you, but I'm not getting involved with you. I'm not coming to your aid. That is a logical response. It's kind of like if you punch somebody, you should expect them to defend themselves. That is a logical response. But somewhere along the lines, black women think that they can get online, trash us the way they have, and after trashing us, hey, come out here and back us up anyway. What? You serious? What? Am I living in Alice in Wonderland? What is this? A circus show? And this is very equivalent to the Democrats with Barack Hussein Obama. What the hell made you think talking at black men, lecturing black men, scolding black men, that this was somehow going to entice black men to now come out here and vote for your candidate? It wasn't happening. And you got to wonder, is Barack Hussein Obama that stupid? Or could it have been him intentionally trying to trash Kamala Harris's campaign? I don't know. It might be a far stretch. Maybe the latter of the two is a far stretch. I don't know. So let's just disregard that point. Because I can't figure out how anybody who's college educated, who's been a sitting president for 2 terms, can make such a ridiculous decision like that. You should have known that this was going to backfire horribly. He didn't come to speak to black men. Hey, let's try to get an understanding of how you feel about her, and maybe I can clear some things up. That's one thing. He didn't do that. He said, what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. I got a problem with you deciding not to vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman and you think that Donald Trump leads to some kind of masculinity. That's unacceptable. What did you think was going to happen behind that? It was, oh man, Barack Obama said, let me go ahead and go vote for Kamala. What did he also say? Oh, don't make me get Michelle. Nigga, what the fuck were you thinking? I'm going to tell you Democrats something. You have literally cannibalized your own party. There pretty much is not really much you can do at this point in time to save your party. What you have done is equivalent to you cutting off your own dick and shoving it up your own ass. See, I'm going to be one that's going to tell it to you this boldly. And now y'all are complaining because that dick is in your asshole. It's erected and now it hurt. Oh man, it hurt. No. You can keep that up there just a little bit longer. As a matter of fact, you can keep it up there a whole lot longer. Y'all have cannibalized this party. And at this point in time, I don't really think there's much you can do to fix this. There's not much you can do to fix this. Your party, listen, what I believe is that this is the beginning of the end of the Democratic Party. I believe they're finished after this. They're going to lose the House. They're going to lose the Senate. And listen, y'all have essentially paved the way. Y'all have rolled out the red carpet on a man like Donald Trump, who y'all successfully had demonized, to the point where many people were blaming the events on 2020 on Trump. And what you have done is you have now convinced people who initially didn't like him, who now want to see him as president. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So what y'all did was y'all were literally just keeping his seat nice and warm for him. And you essentially rolled out the red carpet. And this is how stupid this strategy was. Because the thing is, when you take a loss at something, Trump has the 4 years of experience of being president. And then he knows what happened, the way, or some of the people he brought in there that were wrong, that he shouldn't have brought in there. Then he gets pushed out. Joe Biden comes in 4 years, fucks up the economy completely. Now you have a more advanced Donald Trump, a smarter Donald Trump, a seasoned Donald Trump. It's kind of like when Brock Lesnar, and he's a good example as a matter of fact, when he first came to the WWE in 2002, you can tell this guy was young, wet behind the ears. There was a lot he didn't know. You could tell this was still a kid. Even as big and as intimidating and as gifted as he was, that wasn't his most dangerous stage, in my opinion. His most dangerous phase is when he came back to the WWE more than 8 years later from leaving. Now he was well-rounded in mixed martial arts. He had performed in wrestling around the world. He's done other than things. So now you were looking at a seasoned, his complete aura was different. It was almost like these were two different men. The look in his face, the look in his eyes, his whole persona is almost as if this is a completely different individual. But if you ask me, he was far more dangerous when he came back. And you seen how he was messing wrestlers up left and right, just destroying people. Why? Because now he has the experience. He's seasoned. He's advanced. He knows what he's doing. Certain things that might have bothered him back then, he's not going to fall for those same mistakes. His wrestling tactics and abilities was more of a mixed martial arts, using the Kimura, like breaking people's arms left and right, even though it's scripted. But just the strategies that he used were completely different from what he did. This is why I say it was almost like they were two different people when he came back. And you could kind of say the same thing similar to Donald Trump. Now you have a more advanced Donald Trump, a more seasoned Donald Trump. He sees the tactics, sees the games, and now he can counteract it a whole lot faster. And since y'all have ruined your reputation to where the very same guy that you put out of office, you essentially kept the seat warm for him and rolled out the red carpet for him in 2025. Now, what's going to happen behind that are things are going to go easier for him once he gets back in office. So all the stuff they were able to block him on when he first got in 2017, guess what? He's not going to go through all that. He's going to have a lot easier time cutting through the red tape because why? He has competent people who are on his side. A competent cabinet. So you Democrats essentially fucked yourselves over. Because here's the deal. This is J.D. Vance's to lose come 2028. And the only way he doesn't take the White House in 2028 is if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance go in there and do such a horrific job that now people say, oh, hell, we might have to start looking for somebody else. And I don't think that's going to happen. Like I told y'all about Joe Biden. Had Joe Biden went in there, this was his time to go in there and shine like a bright light. And he failed miserably and revealed the type of shit stain and turd that he truly is. Because had Joe Biden done good by the American citizens, or at a bare minimum, keep things stable, and even when he made mistakes, let me clear that up, let me undo that, let me rectify this, he would have been coasting to a victory and would have been able to set the pace for Kamala Harris or whoever they wanted to have take his place. He would have been a two-term president. He failed. Now it's Donald Trump. All he has to do is improve people's lives. I think some of the first bills that he needs to pass is that no tax on tips and overtime. If he gets that done within the first couple of weeks or months of his administration, guess what? It is over for you Democrats. You're finished. Because you have absolutely nothing that you can hang your hat on now. What are you going to fearmonger people about Trump? See, what you have done, if that actually happens, now the people who are saying, oh, I'm so afraid, and when they're looking at their bank accounts, their statements are looking a whole lot better. They're not being taxed on overtime, and that's going to affect a broad portion of the population. Even the people who are never Trumpers are going to have to stop and look at that and realize, wow, my money is going significantly further. So now I got a reason to go ahead and try to get as much overtime as I can, because now I can afford to have nice things. I can afford to get myself out of debt. I can afford a car note. I can afford gas and insurance. I can afford the home that I wanted. When people start realizing that and their lives significantly change, guess what? Not even the never Trumpers are going to go back out and vote for you in 2028 or 2026. It is over. You can try to rebrand yourself. Oh, we're the new Democrat. No, every time y'all try to come back out, and that's probably what they're going to try to do. Because you're not going to be able to run away from your dysfunction and all of the chaos that you have caused within the past 4 years. You're not going to be able to get away from that. And every time you try to come back out and rebrand yourselves or try to get out here for election, what you think you're going to set up Gavin Newsom now? What are people saying? Somebody came in my comment section and said, listen, my last video I did a couple days ago. Yeah, when Gavin Newsom attempts to run, we'll be waiting for him. That was a few days ago. On the Black Authorities video that he did last night on his program, he said the same exact thing. Now, the funny thing is echoing sentiments amongst many black men. How many other brothers are feeling the same way? And not just black men. Because like I stated in the past, you got white guys that watch our videos. You have Hispanics, Asians who watch our videos. And if that becomes a sentiment amongst both men and women, oh, Gavin Newsom thinks he's going to run in 2028, we'll be waiting for you. Trust that it's going to be another landslide defeat. Gavin Newsom, you probably should go into hiding. Go crawl under the fucking rock that you came out of. Nobody wants this degenerate running the goddamn White House. Nobody. So they don't really have nobody that they can run. Nothing. And every time they try to bring somebody out or try to pop their heads out here, now the Republicans had all of this overwhelming information just as quickly as Trump was able to, when they were pulling the whole race card with Kamala Harris being black, and Trump was able to pull up the video. Oh, she's admitting to being Indian. Oh, okay. Just how Trump was able to play at a Super Bowl, Kamala Harris endorsing gender reassignment surgeries for transgenders who are illegals in prison. You see, all of the footage is out here. All of the lies and gaslighting and everything that you have done. Y'all were trying to accuse Trump back in 2020. We see who the liars are now. And every time y'all try to stick your head back out there and say, hey, why don't you go check out this can? Oh, here you go. There's your party. And see, it's going to be that much more difficult to overcome that when Trump now can have a proven track record of actually doing right by the American citizens. People are going to have no reason to vote for you. You trying to run an abortion, guess what? Nobody's going to give a shit. Because why? If he makes people's pockets just a bit more richer than what we are now, nobody's thinking about abortion. Nobody's prioritizing Alphabet City. Nobody's prioritizing Transformers. Nobody's prioritizing a bunch of sassy-ass, effeminate men. Nobody's prioritizing allowing a bunch of illegals into the country and a pathway to citizenship. No, it's not happening. What was Kamala Harris's dumbass saying? The joy will cometh in the morning. And the joy has cometh in the morning, and the morning means your ass is getting the hell out of here. Good riddance. Y'all have essentially fucked yourselves. And like I said, if Trump does a significant job, if he does a good job, J.D. Vance is going to win 2028. If he does a significant job, guess what? That sets the Republicans up for landslide victories in the mid. Listen, this could be very well the very beginning of the end of the Democratic Party. And one of the reasons why this has happened, because y'all are too stupid to get out of your own damn way. You have an ineffective leadership, incompetent leadership. You lack foresight. You think you can project your goofy emotions onto everybody else and they're going to run on that issue. And that's not what's happening. You think that you can cause division and disrespect your constituents and then somehow think they're supposed to go out here and vote for you anyway. This is a wrap for y'all. Because what you're seeing right now are people with critical thinking and common sense are standing up. Now, yeah, y'all still got a sizable proportion of the black vote, but you have more and more black men who keep straying away from that party each and every election. More and more black women who are straying away from that party each and every election. Now, in this case, some of them might have just went ahead and sat down on the goddamn couch. Hey, I'm going to take the couch. So many can say that, yeah, this is what they're saying. Oh, yeah, we were fighting against the couch. Well, let me say this much. If Donald Trump and J.D. Vance actually go in there and do a good job, the next election, you're not going to be fighting against the couch. Because the very same people who are just sitting or straddling both sides of the fence or just taking the couch, if their lives improve significantly, even if they're Democrat, they might be registered as Democrat, but they're going to vote Republican. See, this is what you're up against now. This is Trump and J.D. Vance's to lose the 2028 election. With a more experienced candidate, and after being put out, you had 4 years to sit back and think of where the mistakes you made and where you went wrong. I don't think Trump is going to drop the ball on this one. I'm just saying. I really don't think he is. I think he knows where he went wrong. He knows the stuff he was getting involved with. Okay, there's certain things I need to just shut down and focus on this. The same way when he had that debate with Kamala Harris and seen that she was on foolishness, her and ABC. 3 against 1. Nah, I don't got time for this. Let me go ahead and hammer out my agenda. I'm not debating you again. I ain't got time for that. I'm pushing out what my plan is. You on foolishness trying to get fucking mic drop moments and loop them over and over again in sound bites. I ain't got time for that. It's over for Kamala Harris. It's over for the Democratic Party. She can't hang her head nowhere. She can't run for office any fucking where. It is a done deal. And see, the thing is this. Even for those who are diehard Democrat supporters, your dishonesty and your integrity, you have lied to people to such an extent in your own base. The fact that Kamala Harris wouldn't even come out there and address those sassy-ass effeminate men, those radical feminists, and those Alphabet City members that were there hoping she was going to get over the goddamn finish line. The fact that she would not come out there and address them. At some point, they're going to have to come to terms with that this is who you're dealing with, somebody who can give a damn less about you. No matter how much you want to ride for her and go to bat for her, at some point, you are going to have to acknowledge, yeah, she wouldn't even come out there and give you a closing speech. Not one. The amount of deception that they put forth. With the Beyonce performing, a lot of people came to her rallies expecting to see Beyonce perform. These were stupid ideas. But if you have people under the expectation that Beyonce is going to perform, then it is probably best that you have her perform. These are stupid ideas because now what happens when you have her go out there and just give a 4-minute speech and leave? Those people who were under the impression that they were going to see a Beyonce concert now know that, okay, this is what you said, this is what you conveyed to us, and this is what we believe, and this is the outcome, which is not what you led to us believing. And behind that, they're going to know, okay, you were insincere. We can't trust you to keep your word. When Joe Biden was asked, are you going to mandate a vaccine? He said, no, I can't do that. And then 9 months later, he mandates it. So now people know that you don't keep your word. You are infamous liars. All the gaslighting, all the foolishness, people can see this. And there's going to be absolutely no reason to trust you when it's all said and done. You have damaged your own credibility and your own reputations. Like I told you, this is the Democratic Party. They are cannibalistic. And what were some of the things that people were complaining about? They expected Joe Biden to cancel student loan debt. Many people were complaining that that never happened. Now, I never done any real research into it, but this is just some of the stuff that I've seen on mainstream media. So that is going to be a strike against you. You got us into countless wars. If Trump can shut that shit down and work out peace agreements, that is going to be a strike against you. If Trump manages to go in there and undo half of the chaos and foolishness that Joe Biden has put us in, those are going to be strikes against you. So now, when people who want to remain Democrat shills get out here and try to cater to this party or try to save their reputation, what's going to happen is when they have absolutely nothing that they can defend because they've seen the mainstream media lie so goddamn much. Lies to the point where you can easily disprove it with factual evidence, with physical evidence that you can place in somebody's hand. When somebody's trying to say, well, this is what the Democratic Party, oh, no, I'm going to put this phone in your hand, I'm going to pull up the link, and we're going to look at the video and see exactly what that is. And every time these Democratic shills or these Democrat supporters get out here and they attempt to back the Democratic Party, go to bat, go to try to defend them in some way, shape, or form, and they are meant to be look stupid, guess what? At some point, like I told y'all a while ago, that becomes taxing. It becomes tiring when somebody's going out here being embarrassed over and over and over again, and you have literally given them nothing to defend you with. I want to defend you, but you've given me nothing to work with. This is essentially what you were dealing with the Democratic Party. And when that happens, at some point, people are going to just throw in a white towel and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I had somebody having a discussion with me some time ago about them supporting Kamala Harris. And there was a couple of us talking. And they tried to ask other people, random people, are you supporting Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? And one group of these people were Mexicans that said Donald Trump. And the other was a black woman that stated Donald Trump. So that didn't necessarily turn out the way this individual was hoping that this was going to turn out. And what I'm saying is they were under the impression that Kamala Harris had all the support. And then they found out the hard way on a small scale now that no, people really aren't feeling her. At some point, what I'm saying is that becomes taxing. And when you realize, holy shit, everything that I'm reciting that is being, which is coming from the mainstream liberal media, is easily being smacked down and being disproven with physical evidence. At some point, these people are going to get tired and say, you know what, I give up. The white towel is in. I'm done with this whole thing. You know what? I might very well sit out the next goddamn election. At worst, they vote third party or vote Republican. At best, they sit it out. But either way you look at it, it's not good for Democrats. Because you are not increasing your base. You are losing. You are hemorrhaging support. They had everybody believing that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were neck and neck. They never were. I told you that. If you believe that bullshit, I told you, I got a bridge in Brooklyn. I'll sell you for an even cheaper price. And then when you actually see what the real, raw, authentic numbers were on election night leading up into the outcome, and you see how far Kamala Harris was being literally just lagging, you then sit back and say, well, wait a second, I thought this was a neck and neck race. I thought we were close. Well, how is it that the numbers are this far? Now to the point where you're saying, where people are coming out and saying, well, what happened to all these other votes? Because Joe Biden got X amount of millions of votes in 2020. How come, where did those votes go? Well, I'm going to tell you where a lot of them go that you don't see. They did not vote for you. They did not vote at all. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, come 2028, 2026, they vote Republican or third party. Because your campaign and your administration has been such a horrific experience within these past 4 years. That you have set the stage for Democrats to lose in landslide elections in the future. Like I said, I believe that this is the beginning of the end of the Democratic Party. If Trump and J.D. Vance go in there and they do a significant job, it is over for y'all. 2026, a wrap. You're losing the midterms. I've never seen Republicans sit up and do what Democrats do to their own base. 2022, the Republicans didn't get the outcome that they were hoping for, and they blamed themselves. They said, what do we need to do to reach these voters and do a better job? I've never seen a Republican candidate walk up into a room full of either white men, Hispanics, Asians, and literally browbeat them, lecturing them. I've never seen this. But you do get this out of Democrats. Barack Hussein Obama, when he lectured those milquetoast, soft-ass, pillow-biting Negroes, first started off, don't make me get Michelle Obama. He was scolding them Negroes. That's what he was doing. He was scolding you Negroes. Then sometime after that, you see Michelle Obama giving a speech at a Kamala Harris rally. But there has been several things that she has stated that really just rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, first of all, she looks hammered. All right? She just needs to go sit the fuck down somewhere. Ain't nobody listening to what you got to say. You're done. You, Barack Obama, go sit the fuck down. Your legacy is shot. You would have somewhat preserved your legacy had you just got out of the White House and just went into obscurity. But since you go out here and you start backing these candidates who can't get over the finish line and who are quite frankly unlikable, yeah, your legacy, done, finished, shot. But there was something that she said that stuck out to me that I really want y'all to pay attention to. Michelle Obama is talking about children having the right to love who they want to love. Now, first of all, when it comes down to a child loving somebody, what kind of love are we talking about? Because I highly doubt that they're talking about the love of parents, the love of siblings, the love of friends. I don't think they're talking about that. Better yet, I know they're not talking about that. Why would you even bring that up as if somebody's stopping a child from having a friendship? Nobody talks about this. Why? Because it's not why would you make this an issue unless you are alluding to something else? We know what the Democratic Party's about. We know that targeting your children is fair game to them. We know this. So when you talk about children loving who they want to love, well, we can just say that they're talking about loving the same sex in a romantic type of way. That's what they're talking about. The question is, why would you get out here and push this garbage in this speech and think that somehow this is going to resonate with voters? You see, Democrats have fooled themselves to believing that the alphabet city, the transformer community, the radical feminists, and the milquetoast effeminate beta males somehow outnumbers the alpha heterosexual individuals of this society, whether it be male or female. They think that these emotionally, mentally unstable people somehow outnumber the dysfunctional people. I mean, simply like this. There's no other way you can say that because just the policies that they push don't make any fucking sense. The push for electric vehicles makes no sense. The vaccine mandates makes no sense. Bringing in a bunch of illegals makes no sense. And the thing is, when it comes down to society, the way machinery and mechanics work, that functions off of basic logic and mechanics. Things have to operate in a logical sequence in order for a machine to work. It doesn't care about emotions. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care what you think or what's going on in your mind at that time. In order for this to work, there are a simple set of events that have to function in certain sequence in order for it to work. When you start running with your imagination trying to do something else, guess what? You have a real problem. And this is exactly what Democrats are doing. Pushing for things that make no sense, that can't get you over the finish line. Prioritizing alphabet city. That's a small portion of the population. They can't get you over the finish line. That's the problem. Prioritizing the lonely cat ladies. I mean, this doesn't... This is their base. Prioritizing the transformer community. People that can't get you over the hump. Prioritizing illegals. Okay, let's get them in here immediately, get them a pathway to citizenship, and get them set up to vote. Get them all the funding that they need, get them in homes, get them cars, get them businesses started, and oh, by the way, go vote for us. Here's the problem. These people, they're against patriarch and try to promote matriarch. But these people who come from these other societies and other countries do not subscribe to matriarch. Regardless of whatever condition their country is in, they live by a patriarch. They understand that there is a divine order for both men and women. And yet you are trying to push this. And you think that these whacked out policies and ideologies are somehow going to get a bunch of illegals from foreign countries to come in here and support your agenda. What you are seeing is what the Democratic Party is really relegated to. The party is riddled with nothing but a bunch of damn degenerates who should have been removed a long time ago. I don't really see any saving for this party. I think the rational, critical thinking person has spoken, and I think it's going to continue to keep happening. And when you try to rebrand yourself, there's no reason for anybody to trust you. This is why they run around with a new Democrat. No, there's no reason for anybody to trust you. Because you have a consistent track record of lying over and over again. And just as an example, the border crisis. We know that the border crisis took place under Joe Biden. We know this. We have never seen such a surge and influx of illegals up until this clown got into the White House. And like I said, had they been smart, I said this at the beginning of the video, if he was smart, he would have realized, okay, let me let the surge come in right now. Let me close the border after some time has gone by. Say, hey, I tried to undo Trump's policies. Now that I realized that led to another problem, I decided to close the border. And they could have slowly been siphoning in, 5,000 people a day? If that's what they wanted to do back then, they might have been able to pull that off. But no, they didn't do so. But we know that the border crisis had taken place under Joe Biden, and we know that Joe Biden named Kamala Harris the border czar. We know this. And immediately, lamestream media tries to run interference now when Kamala Harris is trying to run. Oh, she was never named the border czar. Here's the problem. We could slap your stupid ass right across your dumb ass face with physical proof that contradicts what you're saying. You see, it becomes very difficult to defend a party like this when somebody can easily debunk what you're saying. And anytime you've seen J.D. Vance or Byron Donald speak on these liberal media news outlets, they get shut down within the first few minutes because they're not making any sense. And when you turn their own words against them, they sit there looking stupid, getting quiet, or trying to immediately change the subject matter because you don't have substantive people who can get your ass over the hump. This is your battle class. And you see what happens when they go into a debate. They lose every fucking time straight out of the gate. But the example that I wanted to make a second ago with the border crisis. Biden started the border crisis and Kamala Harris was named the border czar, which means she never actually did what needed to be done to solve that problem. What are they saying? Immediately they try to blame Donald Trump, which is the silliest fucking thing I've ever heard. Oh, it was Trump. He's the problem. He all this stuff he did. Okay, well, how is it Trump problem? Well, we came up with the bipartisan bill and Trump got wind of it and he put a stop to it. So, okay, explain to me how a man who is not even a acting politician at that time, he was not even an active politician, facing all kinds of federal indictments and charges, can somehow have more power than the current sitting vice president and president. How does that make any fucking sense? I mean, this is equivalent to you have Donald Trump and Kamala Harris both sitting at a table. There's a pitcher of juice in the middle of that table. All right? There's cameras in the room. People are in the room. We're all looking at them sitting at this table. Kamala Harris knocks over the pitcher of juice. Spills all over the fucking place. Then when we look at it, Donald Trump said, well, why did you knock over that pitcher of juice? Oh, I didn't knock it over. You knocked it over. Then the people watching say, why did you knock over the pitcher of juice, Kamala? I didn't do that. That was Donald Trump that did. No. Okay, since you want to play this game, the cameras are right there. Pull the footage. And you pull the footage and put it right in her dumb ass face. And then instead of dealing with the problem, well, why did you knock that pitcher over? Well, see, I was going to come up with a plan to clean up the juice. But Donald Trump didn't want to sign the bipartisan bill. So that, hold the fuck up right now. Hold on. Because that's not what you were asked. We don't care about some plan for you cleaning up the goddamn juice. The question is, why did you knock the fucking pitcher of juice over in the first place? I mean, this is equivalent to what you are dealing with when it comes down to these Democrats. You are so dishonest to a point where it is blatantly disgusting. This level of blatant honesty should be criminal. But this is what we're dealing with. And I want to say this much right now. I don't see this getting any better for Democrats. Because what you have showcased is your productivity level, which you have absolutely zero. Zero. As I've told y'all before, Democrats have powerful backers and donors They're extremely wicked and evil. They will violate your rights in all sorts of different manner of ways and attempt to gaslight you as they do it. But the one thing that they are not is competent. These are some very incompetent, stupid people who are too stupid to get out of their own damn way. Because you can't spend damn near 4 years of making the lives of the American citizens a living hell, and then somehow have to bank on these people to go out here and vote to get your ass over the hump and now expect them to do so. And then try to prosecute the very same man that was sitting in the White House 4 years prior. Now he's getting ready to take the White House again. And these frivolous charges that they have come up with. And this is how they try to project. Well, why would you want to vote for Trump? He's a convicted felon. He's this, he's that. He's got all of these charges. Okay, that's not my issue. I don't care about that. But Trump said he was going to grab them by the you-know-what. Okay, I don't care about that. Trump said that the Haitians are eating cats and dogs. Okay, I can see why that would be a little frustrating, but listen, I'm not going off of that. I'm going off of his policy. So therefore, I'm not worried about that because why? We've dealt with rhetoric from Trump before. So I don't care about that. They try to project this garbage on you and expect you to make this your issue, even though you're telling them that's not my problem. I don't care. So y'all fail to read the language in a room. You fail to read the temperature of the people. And then when they try to tout victories, they talk about victories that you can't see or feel or touch, just like the Honorable Malcolm X stated back when he was alive. It's a victory that I can't see, feel, or touch. Oh, we got the bipartisan deal. We passed the infrastructure bill. What is that? The Medicaid Act. What is that? Is that what the majority of you are worried about? Things that the majority of you can't feel or touch. Abortion. This doesn't improve anybody's life. And they expect you to run on this, and yet they are so disconnected, they're wondering why Kamala Harris got her ass spanked in a landslide. And this will only continue and get worse if y'all keep Well, like I said, I don't think there's anything, you can't redeem yourself at this point in time, in my opinion. If you're asking me, I'll never vote for another Democrat ever again. Ever. I'm done with them. And I think what they're in real fear of is the same thing y'all try to go after Trump for doing. That you now have to be worrying about staring down that same tunnel. Because the same train that y'all try to hit him with might be coming back for you. When people were talking about Trump was going to get locked up, I knew that was never going to happen. And here's something that directly goes out to white men. Had Trump been the average Joe who managed to be running for office, then maybe that would have worked. Had he been a blue-collar guy, that might have worked. But Donald Trump is neither of the above. He would be one that many would classify as the elite class. Now, he probably doesn't classify himself as such because he wants to be relatable to the blue-collar worker. This is why he's going into all of these battleground states, just at the grassroots level with them. Not even in just the battleground states, but he's been in New York multiple times, in the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan. So he's been here multiple times, just going into grassroots locations, something that Kamala Harris wouldn't do. But here you have a man who many can classify his financial bracket would put him in the elite class. All right? Now, regardless of whatever you think of him, if you actually were successful at slapping a set of handcuffs on him, can you imagine had they actually perp-worked Donald Trump? The type of precedent that you are setting for this country. You are essentially saying that this country is a joke. And like I said, I'm talking directly to white men now, because what they understand is that if you can lock Donald Trump up for bogus, trumped up charges for the whole fucking world to see, that right there is an attack on their image as masculine white men. Now, I'm not talking about the sassy ones and the effeminate ones. I'm talking about the masculine ones. This is an attack on their image. And see, this is the problem with that whole thing. Because you're going to have billionaires and people in people in high places who he has reached to that are not going to allow that to happen. Why do you think the judges are turning around and tossing these cases to the wayside? Nah, we ain't doing that. Toss that shit toss it aside. We ain't doing that. You're going to allow a president who, regardless of whether you like him or not, he's respected. That's just the bottom line. He's respected worldwide. We had not one war under Donald Trump, but this is not me praising him. This is just me calling out facts. We didn't have all this high inflation. We didn't have an economy that was fucking just shot to hell. We did not have this under Trump. You get this decrepit bastard Joe Biden in the White House, and you have nothing but problem after problem after problem. Not only that, he looks weak as all hell. He doesn't look the part that he's a man that exudes strength and leadership, that anybody can say that they want to be like this goddamn clown. Ain't nobody trying to be like Joe Biden. And how would it look for this country to sit idly by and watch a decrepit, deteriorating bastard like Joe Biden, who if you blow on him too hard, he's going to fall down? A man who's falling up the stairs, falling off his bike, banging his head on Air Force One, just falling on stages, an utter embarrassment. Doesn't know where he's going half the goddamn time. You mean to tell me this guy is going to be the one you allow to lock up a man like Donald Trump? That many can say is an icon? Joe Biden has never been an icon, and he never will be. I knew for 1 second, no. What indictment is that on the image of white men? Because now if you allow that to happen, you are essentially saying, hey, white men are open season. Because if you can do that to an elite, then you can do that to any one of them. And I knew, no, they're not going to sit back and let that happen. This is why he has the backing of Elon Musk and other billionaires. This is what Kamala Harris, Donald Trump is outspending us by billions, his billionaire buddies. Yeah. Because they're going to look at that shit and say, we're not with that. Because they understand the meaning of keeping a proper precedent. You don't have to like Trump, but goddamn it, we can't do this. We can't do this because this is sending a worldwide message that there ain't no real leadership in this goddamn country and there's open season on this country. Nobody respects Joe Biden. He's a goddamn joke, and they most certainly wouldn't have respected Kamala Harris. She ain't gonna sit in a room full of power brokers and make power decisions. She ain't doing that. Y'all sitting up here talking about black men being sexist because we didn't want to vote for her? Has she sat down in a room with Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un? The first thing this mother gonna come in their mind, go in the kitchen and fix me a goddamn sandwich. What the hell are you doing over here talking to me? This is how these men will think about her. But y'all are so concerned and upset with black men that say, we're just not gonna vote for that. Because that's sexist. Now, if you look at that as sexist, then Kamala Harris ain't built for the job. If you can't handle some brothers saying we ain't gonna vote for you, and hell, we didn't state why we didn't want to go. Well, none of us articulated it's her policies. But yet and still you can turn around and say, no. Well, if she can't handle that, she's not going to sit in front of world leaders and dictators and hold her composure. It's not happening. She's not built for it. And by that, had you successfully locked up Donald Trump and Kamala Harris became the install of the White House come 2025, the precedent of this country, the reputation of this country, which has already gone downhill, it is now open season. Y'all talking about, I'm afraid of Trump, it ain't my right. No, okay, if Kamala got in there, we would be in there to a real fucking problem. There would be real danger. I am so glad she never got in the goddamn White House. And like I said, white men understand this. This is why the judges weren't going to sit back and uphold these goofy ass fucking charges. This was stupid. And this is a matter of having a strong nation. If you got strong leadership in your nation does not become an easy target. Democrats can't think like that. So they go ahead and they put up this circus showcase in front of the whole fucking world because they're too stupid to realize that you are setting a terrible precedent for this goddamn country. So now many of them are afraid. Oh my God, he's going to come after me. Talking about they leaving the country. See, now the thing is, now the thing is this. Joe Biden doing all of this unpopular shit he was doing, literally crushing the working class, the entrepreneur, and even the businessman, and even to the point people who are wealthy, millionaires and billionaires, to the point where you made their lives even that much more difficult with your fucked up policies. The reason why you weren't successful at getting Donald Trump arrested and prosecuted was because why? You could not get the majority of people on board with that shit. And just like I told y'all when it came down to the pandemic and vaccines, the only way they go through with this is if they can get the majority of people on board with this. Just like what I told you when it came down to Kamala Harris, the only way she wins because she does not have the authentic numbers, never did and never will. But the only way they get you on, or they pull off that finesse, is if they can get the majority of people to think that she actually has this overwhelming momentum that was never there. But if they can't convince you of it, now they got to wonder, if we do this, what could the backlash be? This is why they didn't move through with this. They knew there was no chance. All right, just let her crash and burn. That's a better result than us trying to finesse and get her in there, and all of a sudden we got real hell to deal with. So when they were coming after Donald Trump, yeah, you didn't have enough people. And I'm talking about wealthy, rich elites that were going to say, yeah, we're cool with that. A lot of them said no. And it wouldn't surprise me now if you got more of these wealthy elites who are on the side of Donald Trump. So now when he takes the White House, it is almost at his discretion if he decides to go after the very same people who came after him. See, y'all could potentially have a serious problem on your hands based off of y'all stupidity. This isn't going to end well. I don't foresee this ending well. And this is why I say I believe that this is the beginning of the end of the Democratic Party. And when you hear rich celebrities and elites talk about, I am leaving. Oh, yeah, there's something on you that you're trying to hide. Why do you think all of these celebrities came out and endorsed Kamala Harris? You think Diddy was the only one that's having these parties? With 9,000 bottles of baby oil on the wall? Oh, no, there's some names in that list. And they're afraid. If Kamala Harris gets in there, okay, I'm cool. If she doesn't, oh shit, all hell, let me make my way out of here immediately. When you got celebrities getting out here crying and bussing out for Kamala Harris, there's something else going on there. The Democrats should have known a long time ago that you get rid of this geriatric, washed up leadership. Since you refuse to change your strategy, since you refuse to actually listen to what people were saying. And the crazy part is this, now you got them turning on each other. The Black Authority played a video clip from Roland Bussy Martin just last night of this program. And Roland Bussy Martin is now going in on Barack Hussein Obama, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi, saying you need to get rid of these people. Their leadership, it has to come to an end. I don't want to see another 75-year-old woman like Nancy Pelosi having interviews. That's interesting. That's interesting. But this has been the problem with the Democratic Party. You have fossilized has-beens who should have stepped down a long time ago. And I'll say this much. The brother, what's his name? TD Media Takeout, made a very good point when it came down to the Supreme Court. I forgot, I think it was her name, the one that passed away in 2020. I think her name was Ruth Ginsburg. And she said she was not going to leave or step down from her position until a new president was installed outside of Donald Trump. Right? And the point that this brother made up was brilliant. Because she was asked to step down. I believe that the Republicans have more Supreme Court justices because the Democrats were unwilling to actually step down when they had these fossilized has-beens being life-term judges, when they should have stepped down and passed the torch down to younger talent. because they were too stupid and stuck in their own ways and lacked the foresight to get out of their own way. Now you pay the price when the Republicans are able to put who they want in the Supreme Court. And now you say, well, wait a second, he's got more of his judges in there. Well, y'all did it to yourselves. Like I told you earlier, this is equivalent to the Democrats essentially cutting off their own dick and shoving it up their own ass. And now they're complaining when it hurts. Nah, keep it in there. Stay where you at for the next couple of years. This could go on for an eternity as far as I'm concerned. When you are this stupid, the only thing that you can get is your ass kicked in a landslide. And I'll be damned if that didn't happen in this past election. So I don't foresee this ending well for Democrats. I don't foresee them rebuilding their base. I don't foresee that happening at all. The only thing they can probably do right now, listen, there's really not much you can do when you're this corrupt. It's kind of like when you have a corrupt police department. And they go in there and they raid that shit. They go in there, they raid it, they lock people up, and they fire everybody. You don't keep nobody there. Why? Because there's too much contamination involved with this. This is a contamination scene. We got to cleanse this entire department. Get rid of everybody. From the top to the bottom. And I don't know if I foresee that happening in the Democratic Party. These people are probably going to stay in power until, I don't know. Like I said, they're pretty much at the discretion of Donald Trump once he takes office in 2025. It's up to him on whether he's going to go after them. Don't be surprised. I mean, Bill Gates, from what I understand, he's been indicted in, Switzerland? The first time I've heard of an indictment for Bill Gates was in Thailand. I don't know if it still stands or how true it is, but if it is, now this will be the second country that has indicted Bill Gates. Bill Gates, who has donated millions to Kamala Harris's campaign. I mean, is this by coincidence? Do we wonder why he's doing this? There's probably going to be a whole lot of names that come up other than what's on the Diddy list that goes forth in the next upcoming months and years. This is going to be a very interesting time frame. But at the end of the goddamn day, Democrats have done this to themselves. Y'all put yourselves in a situation, and what y'all did was y'all kept poking the bear, but you had no way to neutralize that bear. And now, when that bear manages to rebuild himself or recoup himself, now you got to face that raft. There's one thing I want to say briefly before I close out this production. And this is getting back to Barack Hussein Obama's lecturing of black men. I found the video because we know there was a bunch of black men that came out making TikTok and Instagram videos calling Barack Hussein Obama out for what he did. And I came across a video from New Possibilities. Some of y'all might still know who he is. Many of you probably don't. I'm not sure. And this is a man who I've had disagreements with, I'll say, in the past. And I haven't had a disagreement with him and aired anything on video in over probably, since 2018. So we're talking about 6, maybe 7 years, about 5, 6 years, somewhere around that time. When the passing of the late David Carroll took place, and he also had his disagreements with David Carroll. And we kind of went at it kind of frequently or addressed him, whether it be directly or indirectly. And this was more so back on 2014, 2015, 2016, all the way up into 2018, at least for me. And he made a video, giving credit to David Carroll, to the late David Carroll after his passing, when he really didn't have to. And that was something that garnered my respect. And I said, listen, I'm not beefing with you is over. That's something I'm not going to do again. So now I come across this video of him literally supporting supporting Barack Hussein Obama for lecturing black men. And I'm just going to state my disagreements with his position. And I'm not talking about Barack Hussein Obama, but New Possibilities. I'm going to state my disagreements. And I find it very troubling when you as a black man can sit back and watch the blatant disrespect from a former president to talk to black men in any way he felt fit. This has nothing to do with whether you still support the guy or not. That's not what I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with whether you are a Democrat or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about far as co-signing why it was okay and lecturing black men. Not only that, but disrespecting black men. And not having a problem with Barack Hussein Obama, who engaged in the disrespect, but having a problem with black men for saying, no, we are sick of this shit. Now, I believe I heard a couple of years ago, this brother mentioned that he's in his 50s. I don't know exactly how old he is, but I'm in my 40s now. So we can say he's in a bracket close, somewhere around the baby boomer generation, civil rights generation. I believe he's a civil rights attorney, so we can put him in that category. And I'm going to tell you, this is the problem that the younger generation of black men has always had with this generation, or black men with this mindset. Y'all have no problem tolerating blatant disrespect from a politician, from your women, from whoever. And instead of checking that, you would sit back and co-sign Barack Hussein Obama, who only resorts to disrespecting black men in such a capacity. I have never seen him talk to no other group like this. Now, the thing is, he went in there and he talked down to these black men based off of their blackness. How do we know this? Because he made it clear, I want to talk specifically to the brothers. That's what he said. And he had a problem with brothers not voting for Kamala Harris, because I think that you don't want to vote for her because she's a woman and you're trying to find some other means of masculinity to relate to by voting for Donald Trump, and that's unacceptable. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Don't quote me verbatim. And the fact that Barack Hussein Obama would only reserve this for black men is troubling to me. But black men had the right response when it came down to that. But when you want to know why these politicians treat black people the way they do, it's brothers like New Possibilities who have given them a green light to do so. And that right there is pitiful. And this ain't me taking shots at him. This is not me being disrespectful, because I'm not on that anymore. But the fact that this brother can sit back and attempt to lecture black men on this is insane. To sit back and witness listen, all right. You don't get respected in this world by acquiescing, by being somebody's bitch. The problem with the black community and the older generation of black people, they had no problem having a pimp-hoe relationship with the Democratic Party, with the Democrats being the pimps and blacks being the hoe. To the point where these people are confident and comfortable walking up to you, smacking you across your face and telling you, get in line and do as I told you. And instead of you having a correct response toward that, which would be self-defense, you simply acquiesce and say, yes, sir, can I have another? Or, yes, sir, I'll do what I'm told. You're never going to be respected like that. And this is why the older generation is not respected. As an example of that is this. I referenced Brock Lesnar earlier, right? Let me make another reference to this man, because I believe that this outlines when you actually stand up for yourself, things do change, even if there's a bit of resistance. But down the line, things will actually start to work in your favor, as a matter of fact. When Brock Lesnar returned to the WWE after his 8-year absence, when he showed back up in 2012, his first night, he shows up at the end of the night and gives John Cena the F5. Now, I suspect that there were a lot of wrestlers who had a personal issue with Brock Lesnar, that he can just show back up after being gone this long and just immediately claim his way to the top. after all these other wrestlers have been putting in time and putting in work for years. The following week on Raw, I believe it was the first segment that took place, Brock Lesnar is out there having an interview with John Laurinaitis, if I'm saying it right. I think he used to go by the name Big Johnny. People power. That's how long it's been. Wow. Over 12 years ago, by the way. So he gets out there and gets interrupted by John Cena. And you figured, okay, there was going to be some kind of a brawl. John Cena would want some kind of payback retribution based off of him being F5 the week before. John Cena tells Brock Lesnar, I never got a chance to thank you for last week. Walks right up to him, slaps him right across his face. Now, this wasn't one of those stage slaps where they barely touch your face and stomp their foot to try to make it seem more impactful than what it was. No, this was a straight up slap the way you slap a bitch. Right in his face. Immediately, Brock Lesnar springs on him like a cat. Just boom, takes him down to the ground, right hand right to the side of the jaw. Bah! Splits his mouth open. The whole locker room comes out of there, and you see John Laurinaitis. The minute Brock Lesnar responded and grabbed John Cena, John Laurinaitis jumps out of the ring. But they brawl. The whole locker room comes out there to pull these two apart, and then you look at John Cena's face and see that there's blood. Now, when I looked at that, I said, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Because Brock Lesnar's a guy with a very short temper. He's short fused. He's made it clear he doesn't like people. And he's also made it clear that there's been times he's gotten into bar fights with people picking fights with him, and it did not turn out well for them. So I don't think Brock Lesnar's going to be the bigger person when you walk up to a man like Brock Lesnar. Now, we all know that you don't walk up to a man like Brock Lesnar and just slap him across his face like a bitch. You don't do that unless you're prepared for a fight. So I had to ask myself, was that real or was that staged? Had a conversation with a friend of mine sometime after what we would like to believe, and he just said, I would think that it's staged. I would hope that it was staged, but nobody knew. No one knew. So it always just lingered in the back of my mind. And then a few days ago, I found myself watching videos just about like his career and stuff like that. And when he left the WWE back in 2004, he went to Japan. And one of the traditions for American wrestlers was to get slapped in the face by the promoter, by the Japanese promoter of that industry. And Brock Lesnar made that perfectly clear. Listen, there ain't gonna be no slapping me in the goddamn face. We ain't doing that shit over here. He made it perfectly clear where his position stood. And they respected that. And it never happened. And he had success over there. So once they knew his position, okay, they respected that. They didn't double down, oh, well, you got to get started. No, okay, fine. All right, I'm going to leave you alone. I ain't going to do that. Because I don't know how you're going to react. So therefore, we just ain't going to do it. But here you have a man that stood on business. That said, hey, man, you ain't going to come here and treat me like a goddamn bitch. And when I listen to that, well, I'm just throwing that in there. That's not what he said, but that's just, I'm just kind of putting it out there just to make his position clear. So then when I think about what happened in 2012 when that brawl took place, and the WWE tried to piggyback off of that with other feuds with him and The Undertaker, and I believe a few other wrestlers, but it didn't catch well, or it didn't hit the same way that one did. Why? Because most likely that was an authentic brawl. Now, whether they squashed it and buried the hatchet at some point, I don't know. But that right there, I think that it might have been real. And what leads me to believe that it was real is because when you listen to the documentary that I looked at, and it says how, no, he wasn't about to get slapped in the face in Japan. And he wasn't about to tolerate that back in 2004, 2005, whenever it was. I don't think after him being a well-rounded fighter and a more advanced fighter in 2012, he was going to sit back and allow some random man, well, not random, but allow anybody to just slap him across his face and get away with it. And the response that he gave when that happened, that was the appropriate response. Somebody slaps you, win, lose, or draw, there's a fight. I'm not going to sit back and take that. You better brace yourself after you do something that stupid. And one of the reasons why John Cena got his mouth split open, because he did not brace himself. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking when he did this. So maybe he was one of these wrestlers who had some animosity that you ain't been here in how long, and all of a sudden you coming back here shooting right to the top. Let me give you a taste of my mind, or a piece of my mind. And he found out the hard way, don't you ever do that shit again. It never happened again. Now, they've had wrestling matches and feuds, but that never happened again. And what I'm saying is, when it comes down to black men, it is the same response that you must have. When somebody tries to disrespect, and here's the deal. When New Possibilities is going in on black men, for black men standing up for ourselves, by saying, no, we're not going to tolerate your disrespect. For far too long, people have felt the need, not only just black men, but non-black men and women have felt the need to berate us based off of our blackness, to lecture us based off of our blackness, scold us based off of our blackness. You had, a dating coach. I believe he goes by the name of Miles Cunningham. This is back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, or sometime in 2021. And he was hosting a live stream. And a white guy calls into the live stream and starts disrespecting him, berating him, based off of his blackness, and talk about how you black men treat women and this, that, and the other. Just literally scolding him like a child. And in a situation like that, I don't expect brothers to lose their cool. I don't expect brothers to get out of pocket unless they choose to. But I expect brothers to set the boundaries and let it be known, listen, you on my platform, so God damn it, you gonna show some motherfucking respect. Disagreeing with me is one thing, but you ain't gonna come over here and berate me. That's not happening. And if you think you're gonna do that, I'm gonna boot your ass up out of the goddamn panel. Miles Cunningham did not do this. Miles Cunningham sat there, took the verbal tongue lashing, and did not have an appropriate response. And when I look at this is one of the reasons why I can say that dating coaches are completely irrelevant, especially black men. Now, my belief is, that's irrelevant. But what I'm saying is this: far too often when black men are in these situations where people are belittling them or giving them a verbal tongue lashing based off of their blackness, and there's no appropriate response. It's just a humble, submissive, docile, turn the other cheek type of response. We have seen this far too often in mainstream media, and it needs to stop. We've seen this with Charlemagne the God, when Joe Biden talked about, if you don't know the difference between voting for me and Trump, then you ain't black. He did not check that. We've seen later on, or earlier in 2021, before Joe Biden took the office, he was sitting down with the Congressional Black Caucus, giving them a tongue lashing, talking about, y'all better learn how to work with the Hispanic community, who's going to make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do. He also stated that this country is doomed, not only because of blacks. This is stuff he was saying. And as you sit back and listen to this, all of these bootlicks, not a single one of them had any pushback for him. They all sat back like little scolded children, like a bunch of bitches, like a prostitute being told what to do by her damn pimp. This is not the image of what we need as black men. And as I stated some time ago in previous productions, had a simple "excuse me? Who are you talking to?" Had any of them responded like that, that would have changed the entire outcome of that discussion. As a matter, it probably wouldn't have even got aired. When talking to Charlemagne the God, had he responded, "Excuse me, what did you just say?" I guarantee you that interview would have gotten cut short. Don't air it. And I would much rather it go that way than to sit back and watch black men being scolded and just tolerating it like a prostitute. So when you got brothers like New Possibilities trying to sit up here, telling us that we need to get behind a woman to lead us. All right, let me tell y'all something right now. Y'all start sitting up here looking for black women to lead you. I guarantee you the first chance she gets, she gonna be looking for a zaddy. I guess to take her to the woodshed. that's just me mildly putting it. I'm not going to really say what I want to say. But if you start looking to black women to lead you, she's going to be looking for the first zaddy to lay up with. And that's where your real leadership is coming from. So when you want to know why brothers are saying, nah, we cool on that. We ain't doing that shit. We ain't doing this. It's next question. When you wonder why we say that shit or why we feel the way we do, this is why. You see, men who have this mindset will have no problem, and even in many cases, knowing that this goes on. Why? Because I've broken this down back when I was beefing with this brother years ago. I've explained all this shit. So it's not that you don't know this. It's not that you're not privy to this. But you're telling us to now get behind and get in line with a female who, first of all, is not even black. Number two, and like I stated just a second ago, the lines perfectly, who's with, if she's identifying as a black man, she's not even married to a black man. And I'm supposed to be led by that? Are you serious?